David with Rapid Materials here. Today we're going to talk about how to use the S-5 calculator to estimate how much snow retention is appropriate for your roof. All right, so we're going to learn how to use the S-5 snow guard calculator. And to do this, we need to gather some information before we start going into the actual steps of doing it. Now, what you're going to need is basically a drawing of the roof from overhead. If you're fortunate enough to have architectural drawings, it's a great starting place. A roof plan, everything's already laid out. You can also draw a sketch by walking around your project, looking at what you have, or you can go on Google Earth and put in your address, and in most cases, it'll show you a pretty good image of what the roof is shaped like. Once you've done that, I suggest going in and label each individual roof area, as I've done here. You can call them whatever you want to call them. I just use A, B, C, D. It's easy. Then you want to get dimensions. If you can get field dimensions, pull it with a tape measure, that's great. If you can measure them on architectural drawings, that's awesome as well. Once you've got the dimensions, write them down for each roof area so you know what you've got. In this case, roof area A, the dimension from corner to corner along the eave is 123 feet, 4¼ inches. This is the length of the snow retention system that's going to go on that area of roof. You also need to measure from the gutter to the ridge for each roof area. In this case, from the gutter to the ridge is 38 feet. It's going to be more or less the same for area B, and of course different dimensions for area EFG. You'll notice that I haven't actually labeled that on EF and G because I know that the dimension from the gutter to the ridge on E is going to be 1/2 of the dimension of the length of F. Once you have that, we need to figure out what the roof pitch is, or the roof slope. In this case, I know that these roof slopes are 512, and this roof slope over here is 312 because I have the architectural drawings. If you don't have a way to calculate it, there are two basic ways to do it. One is to get a 12-foot long level, place one corner of it on the roof, and level it up, and then measure from the end of the level that's in the air straight down to where it hits the roof, and you should get a pretty close approximation. If you measure down at 6 inches, then you have a 6-inch rise for a 12-inch run, which would make it a 6 on 12. You can also go to most good hardware stores will have a pitch indicator or slope indicator. Usually it's a little dial that you set on your roof and the needle swings to the right pitch. So once you have that information, next thing you need to know is what the roof design snow load is. Now, in this case, the roof design snow load is 45 pounds per square foot. This is important, and this is very, very important that is done appropriately. If you just go with a ground snow load, you might find that you're overloading your roof. For example, if you're in an area where they have a 100 pounds per square foot ground snow load, if you put 100 pounds per square foot on your roof, the roof structure may not be capable of supporting that load. So one of the things you can do is get with the architect or the designer, find out what the snow load was designed to. If you don't have that information, you can always get with your local code authority, and they can tell you what the roof design snow load is for your area, generally speaking. For example, in Western New York, they might say that the structure has to be built to a 35 pounds per square foot snow load. Again, it's very important. You need to know this. Just guessing at it, you're going to have one of two situations. One is you're either going to overload the snow retention system because it's not going to have enough capacity to hold up the load, or you're going to overload the structure, in which case you have a structural failure. All right, once you have all that information, then we need to know about the panel. In this case, this is going to be a New Tech 1-inch FF100 Nell flange panel. It's going to be 16 inches wide. It's going to be 24 gauge steel. There are a lot of variations on panels. It's best to know the manufacturer. You need to for sure know how wide it is, and you need to know what material it's made out of. If you can't find the name of the manufacturer on the list, give us a call. We'll talk about it. We may be able to identify what you've got and at least get you pointed in the right direction. Okay, so once you have all this information, we want to go to s5.com, and at the top of the menu, there's a little thing up here that says Snow Guard Calculator. So click on that, and we'll bring up the new snow load calculator. Now, if you haven't used this before, you're going to have to register. Register with your email address and a password. Once you've done that, you can sign in. By the way, you might want to read, and you really should read, the terms of use agreement. This talks a lot about what S-5 is providing. Is asking you to agree to the terms of use, that you're qualified to put in this information, that you have the correct information, and that you have a good idea of what you're doing. Once you've gone through all that, sign in, and we're going to set up a project. So first thing we want to do is add a new project. And this project is called Police Station. Address, don't need to have a street address. We're not going to put one in. Country is United States. State is going to be New York. There it is. City. And we're going to make one. We'll say it's in Albany. This one's not actually, but that's what we're going to use. Don't have to enter a zip code. And now we're going to save our project. Next thing we want to do is start adding roofs. So let's kind of move this over so we can somewhat share a page. And we're going to start with roof area A. And I'm sorry, my window is not going to stay open because I'm only using one monitor. Roof type, we're using a standing seam roof. Now, a standing seam roof is unique in the fact that it has vertical ribs, does not have fasteners that fasten through the panel. They're not exposed. You saw the drop down did say exposed fastened. If you have an exposed fastened roof, that's a different animal, and we will have a conversation about that when you give us a call. Next, manufacturer of the roof panel. Okay, we determined ours was New Tech Machinery, and it's an FF100. There it is. It's going to give us an option to choose clamps. In this case, there's only one clamp that fits this panel, so we're going to select that one. We know that this panel is 24 gauge steel. If you have one that comes up and says it's a 26 gauge steel panel, give us a call. Seam height, all right, auto-populates to 1 inch seam height. That is the appropriate height for this panel. Now, if you say you have an FF100 and you measure it and it's 1.5 inches high, you don't have an FF100. Give us a call. Safety factor of 2. Now, this is default. This is the lowest factor of safety recommended by S-5. And you can change it if you need to, but we recommend you leave it at 2, unless you have an architect or an engineer that's requiring a higher safety factor, in which case you can change that. Panel width. Our panel is 16 inches wide. And now assembly length. So go back to our drawing. Our assembly length is the length that the color guard assembly will go, or the snow retention assembly will go. In this case, it's 123 feet, 4 1/4 inches. We're going to round it to 123.5, so 123.5. Eave to ridge distance. In our case, it's 38 feet, so we're going to put in 38. Our roof slope is a 5/12. Our roof design snow load, 45 PSF. Is this a gabled roof? All right, this requires a little bit of explanation, but it's pretty simple. So a gabled roof would be a roof where you have 2 identical roofs on both sides. Technically, this is a gabled roof because A and C are identical, and you could do that selection. I prefer to do them one at a time. It's just easier for me to keep track of what I'm doing. So in my case, I'm going to say no. Punched or unpunched color guard. Now, pre-punched color guard is punched with holes 4 inches on center. So if you have a panel that has a width between rib, or from rib to rib, excuse me, that is divisible by 4 inches, for example, a 16-inch panel can be divided by 4, a 12 can be divided by 4, 20 can be divided by 4, then you would probably want to select pre-punched. Saves a few steps and it eliminates some parts and pieces. Now, if your panel's 15 inches wide or 17.5, then you would have to use unpunched. If you use unpunched, the color guard calculator or the snow retention calculator will calculate in the addition of VersaClips, which you would need to have to adapt the clamp to the rail. So ours are 16 inches wide, so we're going with punched. Will we be using snow clips? Yes, we will be using snow clips. They are absolutely required on a panel that's 2 inches or taller. They are optional on panels below 2 inches, but always recommended. How many snow clips per panel? Panel's only 6 inches wide. One is probably plenty. Should we use snow clips on all rows? I would say no. Sometimes you might want to have them on all rows, but we're just going to say we only need them on the bottom row. So we select no. Save roof. And we are set. We're ready to go. We can add another roof. Okay, adding additional roof areas is an identical process to what the steps were to add roof A. Okay, now that we've entered all of our roof areas, we can go look at calculations and get a bill of materials. So two ways to do that. One is you can scroll down to the bottom and just click View Calculation, or you can go over to the master list on the right, select your project, and the nice thing about this thing on the right is that you can add a roof if you miss something. You can modify your project, and you can, of course, view the calculations. Once you get to the calculator results page, you'll see that there are actually 4 different options for snow retention. The color guard system, which is the most common, dual guard, X guard 1 and X guard 2. Each one of these options has a full list of all the parts and pieces needed. It'll list MSRP. Note that MSRP is a suggested retail price. It may vary slightly. One thing it does not include in this total MSRP price is the cost of shipping and the cost of sales tax. We do not collect sales taxes for every state, but we do collect sales taxes for about a dozen states. So that's kind of an important thing to factor in. Once you have that, you can email us your list, or you can go to either of our websites, punch in the parts and pieces, and you can get a really accurate quote, including delivery, and go ahead and place your order. If you need calculations to submit to an architect, you can print calculation down here at the bottom, and this will produce a document that looks quite a bit like this. It's going to give you all the information about the panel, snow loads that were used in the calculations, and justifies everything. And this is great for, again, submitting to an architect or an engineer to justify what you're proposing. So as simple as that.
Well, thanks for watching our video today. Hopefully you learned a lot about how to use the S-5 calculator. I know it's a little bit complex, but if you have problems with it, give us a call. You can reach us at 770-405-1060. I'm happy to help you anytime, and feel free to visit our website or our YouTube channel for more great videos.